But here we go. I like to say that because we're on a journey. So, this is Dr. Slaton Line, the brain's body, the ultimate experience. Now we can say brain talk because the book is out and we're getting great reviews. And I want to talk about brain talk because many times we often have difficulty moving through emotion, thought, and reflection. And I'm included. So when you open up that first section of the book, before you get into part one, I'm talking about the self-experience of emotion, thought, and reflection, and how it was not balanced when I was coming up through the K through 12 system. So it made my judgment somewhat obscured, blocked by the emotion. I mean, I was living through my emotion. And most athletes, I was an athlete at that time, so most athletes can understand the experience of living through that emotion and then dealing with the things of the body and your senses and leaving the brain out of the equation because you're moving through the emotional effect or experience of the action in the community. And so since I had difficulty going to school, I was all up with that outlet not being clear to me as to why should I continue to go to school and deal with the negative energy I was experiencing in the classroom, be it the curriculum, be it the loss of Malcolm, Martin, all these people that were activists in my community, their losses, along with the way that I felt I was being treated in the classroom. And I talk about that. But more importantly, I'm talking about the experience of people, period, that grow up hurt and find themselves disadvantaged because they lack the knowledge to understand how to balance their emotion with thought and reflection. See, emotion, thought, and reflection is always there. And the way I see it today, if I could fast forward, is that you have the environment, stimuli. When I was coming up, parents would bring their children home from school and call themselves deprogramming. So the environment, stimuli, at that time was the curriculum. So it was believed that the child goes to school and picks up these poor habits, and that when they came home, the parent had to sit them down to cleanse, I didn't know it then, the sense and receive path, so that the child could reset with the information moving through them that does not contaminate their identity, their sense of self. So I'm talking about the environment or the teacher or the curriculum going into my body at that time, not the brain's body, the body, sense of, state of mind, mood state. So my mood state is what I was living through. So now I understand why I was having such difficulty, because the environment was producing my moods, because the emotional effect I was experiencing in the classroom was overwhelming and I couldn't get it under control. So you could call that a thinking problem, because when you're thinking backwards because of the effect that something's having on you, that's not really thinking. That's really just dealing with the emotional effect of moving through chaos, internal chaos, because your thinking is not about self-care. It's about, that's what I said. You have to develop a knowledge base on how to care for self. And that's where you turn the corner when you begin to understand self has to be cared for from the inside out. The environment is coming in and it's okay, program is good, but not if you don't understand, because you're involved in a community that feels that it's under attack. And that could be the government or whatever. You could put your own words in there, but we're talking about back then and now, children had difficulty receiving instruction because of what was happening in the community. You're talking about the civil rights movement, all those types of events and activities. And I'm explaining my sense and receive path damage. But at the same time, I'm talking about recovery. Because as you continue to move through the chaos of self and the brain continues to send backward, forward feed, you begin to realize that there's something inside of you that's allowing you to move through these experiences and then reset. Not get caught up in the mood state and shut down and cut yourself off. In the book, I'm saying to you, I sought education. I was in several gangs, back then, but the most important gang that I was in was the Black Panthers, because I delivered newspapers, I participated in community events, the Patty Hearst situation. I was the agreements field when they handed out the food. I was a recipient and I was a helper. And so these things that I was experiencing, right, they're moving through me and they're organizing as I experienced my community examples. I talked about how I was a bully once I recovered from a family breakup and found myself in the community and I started to fight back. Otherwise, I'd have been destroyed. So I became a bully in the process, because once you go from not being physical to being physical, you then have to be physical because you want to keep people out. It's a defense mechanism. So I'm saying that mood state that I was in was my defense mechanism. And I continue to evolve and listen to the noise and sounds moving through me. That's why I knew how to hold up, because I cared about myself. I did not want to get locked up. I did not want to go to juvenile hall. I did not want to use drugs. I did not want to sell drugs. I just wanted to win. And winning meant I just want to figure out how to navigate through this, what I'm experiencing. And as you go through the book, that's what I'm talking about in the first part of the book, but I'm talking about sense and receive path research. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize that's what I was doing back then, but I was making sense of my home, my school, and my neighborhood through these experiences. And so I talk to you because that's thinking about thinking. So I'm saying on one hand, I wasn't thinking at all because of the emotion. But in reality, from the inside, I was thinking and I was dealing with the emotion on the inside. It was that when I went into contact interaction in the environment that I let it go. I didn't put up any defense mechanism. I just went at it, in that state of mind, in that mood state, in that behavior. That was the demonstration of do not touch me, do not talk to me, get out of my way. You're gonna get yourself knocked down. I'm saying about an experience that many, many young people are experiencing coming through the neighborhoods, and that's not the true them. But that's their state of mind. That's their body-mind state, the reflective state that they put on their body so the people don't mess with it. That's what I'm trying to explain here. The environmental you, the sense of you. And the transition was to the sense of feel for self. No, because remember the word, I feel you. Okay, what do you mean you feel me? That means I have a sense of feel for you. That means that as you move, I can feel your energy moving through me, okay? So a sense of feel for self in sense and receive path research is the instrument that captures that environmental data through that sense of feel for self-care. You filter it. You don't have to have someone else do it. You do it. That's what I was learning. That the information flow is being filtered through a sense of feel for self. Now, some people would say he was soft. No, that's not being soft. I was able to navigate my neighborhood because I had a sense of feel for me, self-care. I would not allow myself to be in a situation where I'd be outed, locked up, or detained, or anything negative that would remove my freedoms from me. Talking about winning. And back then, in my neighborhood, all you had to do was be out past 6 o'clock and some black person was being arrested or being beat down in the neighborhood, at the liquor store, on the street. I'm talking about law enforcement. Back then, it was like that. Picked up, thrown in the back of the car, beat up, dumped back out. That was real. So what I'm saying to you, I knew that I had to navigate coming from a middle-class environment through poverty or the ghetto, and then having to learn how to live in that environment and still evolve intelligently. And I didn't get to begin to express my inner sense of feel until after I moved through the Marine Corps. And as I was moving through the Marine Corps, it was called upon because the men I served with looked at me as a leader and they demanded that I display my intellect. I mean, they come to me because I was physical, but I was disciplined. That's what I'm saying to you. The way that you begin to organize the emotion, thought, and reflection is through self-discipline. From the inside out, you discipline you from the inside. That takes years of practice because that's focus. And then on the outside is the brain's body. Because when you're in the Marine Corps and you go through the drills of boot camp and all that, they are disciplining your body. But your brain has to be in the lead of it. That's what I transitioned to because I always had this potential, but I had to come into it naturally, organically. It's not something someone could just give you. It's because of the experiences, and you read and interpret these experiences, and you want to win. So when I went to the Marine Corps, I wanted to win. I did not want to best myself in college and football and basketball. I did not want to take that risk. I wanted to get away from the ghetto, the hood, and experience something different. And my friend Paul talked me into it. I never looked back because then was the changing moments of my life because my brain began to take the lead and I began to understand the self-talk. It began to become more and more clear. It was thinking about thinking things through. Self-talk, because self-talk is what? Backward, forward feed. That means environmental feed and neural feed. So that's sensory seed path interaction. And I began to realize that. So then I began to understand how to settle myself down. And I moved through these three words because in our community, be cool, calm down, man, And I put the collect, because collect means collect your sense of feel for the environment of self and awareness of the people in your homes through neighborhood. And these are the turning points because now I am able to sit inside a classroom and receive instruction because my filter is how the instruction relates to me and my needs. Socially and academically, at that time, I'm talking about going from straight F's to A's, it was simply relative to my needs because I needed to become more informed. Now, I'm not talking about academically, I'm talking about the world. So when I went back to college, I studied everything. I studied social systems, I studied psychology, I go in the library and just bam, I'd be there all day. My family probably wouldn't see me until, I say I'm there. I get back home about 8, 9 o'clock at night sometimes. And then I'm up at 4. I'm studying from 4, going all the rest of the day, and I'm going to my classes and all this type of stuff. I was a single parent periodically throughout that time. I mean, all these things were coming together. And what are we talking about? Brain talk. Brain talk is what? How you sense and receive brain-body sense communication through an awareness of self. Because now you realize what your senses are doing. You realize what your body is able to do when you are in the lead of your brain. I mean, your brain's on. And everybody else. But the problem in my community is, and I'm talking about community, my community, people that I lived around, white, black, brown, whatever, we didn't talk about the brain. See, we would talk all day. We say the mind, but what does the mind do? I'm telling you what the mind is. The mind's a program. You want to settle yourself down? Well, in my state of mind, that's just my state of mind. Okay, what does that mean? That's my canvas. Okay, so you don't get to feel me. Okay, so where's your brain? So let's talk about your brain. You can't change your behavior unless you can talk to the brain. I mean, read to the brain, write to the brain. thought to the brain, act to the brain, perform to the brain. Everything you do involves the brain. And the brain is what unlocks that next level of, I call it, telepathy. Your sense of feel for self meets your brain. No, because that's what's happening when you talk about brain talk. That sense of feel for self meets the brain. You know, they are. Because the sense of feel for self, right? That is your environmental neural self. Okay? So the connection to the brain is evident, but you got to make sense of the body-brain connection to remove the body-mind state, because the body-mind is a fixed state. The brain-body connection is a changing state, because the more informed you become, the more you evolve, the more you change, the more you adjust, the more you adapt. So go back to those three words. You get cooler, calmer, and more collected as an individual. See, because you begin to realize the importance of self-care, the importance of reading, the importance of writing, the importance of taking a few minutes just to draw. When I say draw, I'm not talking about images. We talking about draw, just draw. You know, pen to paper, and your brain's talking. You're talking back to your brain, and your brain's putting it out for you. Things you didn't even see in yourself. Now you read your messaging, read your mapping. You see, read your dialogue. You know, your self-dialogue. We're talking about brain talk, okay? And so inside brain talk, I'm going through all these different levels of engagement. And that's what I'm talking about today. Thinking through the things you feel, because that's self-talk. And don't be afraid of it, because self-talk is a connection between your brain, your body, and your sense system. And I say it this way. You ground the practice of self-talk in the way that you make contact in your home, interact in school, cooperate in your neighborhood, and participate in the workplace. Why? Because those are social places where your competitive contact and interaction takes place. And if you're grounded and your brain is in the lead, the words you use are reinforcers to help you move through the chaos of that emotion with thought and reflection. So now the emotion coming from the environment, the thought, and the reflection of other people attacking your mood state is less comprehensive, because you are organically understanding how to send emotion, thought, and reflection forward from the experience of the emotion. And that's the resolution, because now you're calming down, you begin to understand what's happened, what was happening, and how to stop it from happening, because you have to get in control of your own behavior. And when you do that, that's an actionable endeavor, meaning you legitimately are pursuing results. And that's what we talk about. We say that you have to be in the lead of your own body, so that your body does exactly what you need it to do. And when it messes up, you already here, because the forward feed is a continuous cycle of reading the sense path. Reading the sense path, and even if you are the problem, it works the same way. Someone's telling you, hey man, you gotta cool out. This is what you're doing wrong. It gets through. See, because that same cycle is forward and backward. And with you in the lead, I'm talking about through your sense of feel for self, you feel everything. So even if you try to, oh, it's not true, I don't believe that, it's getting through. Selectively, comprehensively, and we're talking about character. We're talking about character. You care about self, you gotta have character. Why? Because when you're out there in the community, people can see you. And what do you want them to see? Your character. How prestigious you feel you are through your interaction and engagements, and you display intellect accordingly. So when something happens, brain on, and everybody observing your intellect in action. I said that's athletics. When you're on the athletic field, you can do it very naturally. But now transferring it to the classroom is what Miss Eloise Johnson taught me how to do. Transfer that inner to the outer to the classroom. See, because now that's discipline in the program. So you can understand academics and then shift to cognitive messaging. That's processing information from multiple points of view. Because now your brain is on and is open to everyone, anyone, because you are trying to win. And winning means you must process the information from multiple points of view, whether you want to or not. See, that's brain talk. Why? Because I'm still thinking about thinking. And these things are happening simultaneously. And you got to stop yourself from falling, right? Because I just read a report and African-American students aren't graduating from college. Well, that's no different than when I was coming through, except now it's registering everybody. Blacks have a hard time graduating because they have a hard time working through program and then postponing gratuity until after they reach a certain level of adulthood. And by then they realize the mistakes that they've made, but they don't know how to get back in the game. That's what brain talk is talking about. So when you read that chapter, that first opening, that's what I'm just trying to let you know. Relax. We go through this. You know, we go through this when we are hurt and disadvantaged because our families break up or other matters have an effect, especially the drug epidemic, have an effect. We fall behind. To catch back up, you're on a continuum. You live every day to become more informed. And as you live every day to become more informed, what are you trying to inform? Your sense of feel for self in the brain, not the body. You talk to the brain, not the body, because you want the body to be under control, your control all the time. So when you talk to the brain and not the body, you're shaping the state of mind. You're displaying your intellect because the brain is in the lead of the body and the body's physical. So what does the body look like? It looks like somebody intelligent is on the inside. We're talking about brain talk. That's been Dr. Slaton Live. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you stay tuned. I'm coming back. Brain Talk, my new book. Pick it up today. Get a copy. We're going to keep doing this. We're growing, we're evolving. I hope you keep giving me that feedback. Positive energy is good. Energy, action, and feelings that I can throw right back at you during the podcast. I'd like to say your name. Daniel, thank you very much. Have a good day.